Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, we're going to be painting one of my favorite subjects, mushrooms. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about this. Like, probably a little too excited, but that's all right. Got my husband Mark with me.
I'm glad I'm a fun guy.
Oh, gosh.
Hey there, everybody.
Oh, no. It's going to be one of those nights. All right, let's get started. I think my brain does not work with puns. It's like just short circuits my brain.
We
like,
get out of routine.
It's like a screeching record. Like, what? What did he just say? Okay, yes. I am using a Fredrix 12 by 12 inch canvas tonight. I have painted it, obviously, and kind of done some sketching here. Making liberal use of my space here and making some of these mushrooms bigger and spacing them out how I want them to grow. So that's a fun thing about this kind of a lesson. We can kind of get a little bit more creative and take some artistic liberties with it. So I have painted the background. Ooh, it's already wet. It's still wet. It's bleeding. With some, sorry. It is. It's getting all over my hands. What color is this? Quinacridone Burnt Orange. Now, some glazing liquid and some water and just kind of brush it on really thin. So this is just kind of to ground our canvases. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. If you want to watch that video, is the simple landscape where I showed how the different backgrounds can affect the finished product. So the reason I'm doing it this way is because I want a lot of oranges and yellows I want warm tones in my mushrooms. So we're starting with this color. It'll kind of peek through all of our fun layers that we're going to go on top. All right, let's go over our colors. Got carbon black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, quinacridone, burnt orange, yellow oxide, Indian yellow hue, cadmium yellow light, green gold, phthalo green yellow shade, cobalt teal, phthalo blue green shade, ultramarine blue, quinacridone magenta, Pyrrole orange, unbleached titanium, titanium white, and gloss glazing liquid. If you don't have these exact colors, just use what you've got that's similar. Green gold, cobalt teal. Some of these others can be mixed with the colors, other colors around on either side of them. So, cobalt teal can be mixed with phthalo blue and phthalo green and a little bit of white. Green gold can be mixed with mostly yellow and a little tiny bit of touch of green, that kind of thing. So most of these colors are not ones that you absolutely have to run out and buy. You can kind of make do and just, have fun with it. Use whatever colors you've got. If you're not sure how they're going to mix, experiment a little bit on paper before you mix up a whole batch of, a color and end up with the wrong one or mud. But the good thing about mushrooms is they're kind of a muddy color anyway. So even if we do grays and browns and ugly quote-unquote colors, they're going to look good. So as for brushes, I'm going to use a lot of Filberts tonight, I think, mostly. So I've got a couple of Filberts here in the Aspen, a 4 and a 6, and then a 3/8 inch blender, and then a couple round brushes. This one's also an Aspen number 2. This one's a 4 round in the Velvet Touch, and then the 2 liner, and the 3/8 inch angle brush, and then a couple specialty brushes like a fan brush and a Deerfoot Stippler. So those are kind of our brushes. I'm going to just jump right in here because we've got a lot to do and not a lot of time. So if you look at our reference photo, I've kind of made this mushroom bigger because I wanted it to really be large, and I wanted to have kind of like large, medium, and small mushrooms and kind of a few in between variants, and we're going to make it look like it's on a log here. So I'm going to just kind of paint around sort of my big mushrooms, and then I'll paint my smaller ones in the gaps and things like that as we go, and paint in our log. So we're just going to kind of start out with a really loose background. I'm not going to get too particular with the background, but I think I do want kind of a greenish background. Now, because the color here is orange. If I did a transparent green, it would turn brown. So let me show you what would happen if I just put on a transparent green. It's going to kind of turn muddy. It's going to go darker than it would be on the palette. So just kind of keep that in mind if you're, and that's not a bad color, so I'm just going to leave it on there. It's fine. I'm just going to use this brush and kind of push this color around and leave some of the little orangey things peeking through here and there. Again, mushroom shape, super easy to draw. The maybe the trickiest part would be the oval part where it's kind of going underneath, but if you just remember that that is kind of a circle on its side, an oval, you can kind of just draw that in and then top it off like that. It's super easy. And then whatever the stem is, kind of make sure it goes up and in to the mushroom, giving it a little bit of the inside of it showing there and kind of up to it. So there's the outer rim, the inside, and then the stem kind of coming down, kind of like that. All right, so not too difficult. Let's go ahead and add some teal, maybe even some blue up here. Maybe the sky's peeking through or reflecting off some greens or something, who knows. But we'll put some of that up there. Mix that in. Now I'm just doing small batches here. You see I'm not mixing up a terribly big amount of paint here. Just a little bit of paint will do. Don't need to spend a ton of time mixing these colors. Just, if you don't like it, you can always paint over it. That's the nice thing about acrylics. You can paint over all this. So we're just...
Are you telling yourself that?
What?
Are you telling yourself that? Or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tell myself that all the time, the whole way through the painting.
It's just okay. Paint. I can paint over it.
I can paint over it if it looks bad. I was talking to my Patreon crew because we're doing Animals of Australia, and I was trying to paint in a kangaroo paw from at a weird angle. It wasn't like from the side; it was like straight on. So, instead of seeing that as a foot, it was like this, and you've got these long claws in front. And so it's just like this weird shape. And my brain was just like, nope, that's not right. And even though it probably was right, I just didn't have a good enough reference photo that was exactly what I needed for the pose that I was doing with my kangaroo. So we just ended up cutting his feet off and putting grass. So if all else fails, just throw some grass over those feet and you're good to go. But it was an interesting for me because it's one of the few times in recent memories that I can think of that part of my brain that screams at me every time I paint kind of won the battle because I just gave up. I was like, you're right. It looks terrible. We're going to take it out. And it was probably fine. It was just that, I hadn't painted it enough and I wasn't confident enough in what I was thinking that it should look like and just didn't have a good reference photo. So a reference photo goes a long way. But something like this, we can fudge it. These aren't kangaroo feet. We're okay. I think we're gonna do just fine, just making up our own mushrooms and moving them around tonight.
Good idea.
But no, I do know that all too well. It still happens to me.
Kangaroo feet and beach chairs.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Those are my nemesis.
The list is growing.
Exactly. Who knew? I don't know until I try it.
Exactly. You got to give it a shot.
Yeah. Couldn't be something hard like water or anything. No, it has to be kangaroo feet, whatever. Brain, you do you. All right, just throwing in some other colors here. So you're going with like a cool green here with all these teals. So I'm going to put some fern up here, I think. Excuse me. So doing these cool colors behind. I was just kind of testing what that looked like on there, but doing these cool colors behind where I'm going to put the fern will help, because then when I put my bright green fern on there, it's going to really show up nicely, being a good contrast. And I'm just going to go ahead, I'm not going to worry about these smaller mushrooms. I think I'm just going to kind of go over them, and if we need to add some more of that green in later, we can. Let's just go ahead and bring that green all the way to the edge. And where the mushrooms are, you see how I kind of just left it sort of abstracted. So I'm just going to do that on both sides here. Just really scrubbing that in. I'm not too worried about it, leaving lots of that background showing. And the tree stump is going to be a larger oval right here, so I'm kind of leaving that shape there, thinking. And let's go ahead and grab some of the browns now. I'm going to still have these, maybe even a little bit of black, still have these other colors on my brush, so I may need to clean that out so I can get a dark enough background for my, there we go. So where do I want, I think I want it right here. I'm going to put my edge of my, you see the streaks happening, that's fine. We want some streakiness happening. There'll be some bark, some other stuff happening here. Lots of lichen and mosses hanging on there. So I think that looks good enough. And then in the middle here, let's go really dark. Maybe even add some blue here, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, and my brown and black. And just do it nice and dark right here where these are living. And we'll do it dark, and then we'll add lighter colors onto it. But I'm gonna kind of make a jaggedy edge here for the edge of my tree stump. Something like that. Okay. Scrubbing that all in. All right, so now we've got a tree stump for our fern to hang on to. And you can see I left, some of that red peeking through here and there. Let's go ahead and fill in our larger mushrooms. That's the name. My brain is already full on in right side brain activity here. So there's no telling what's going to come out of my mouth right now. All right, I'm going to get some yellow oxide.
I got the sensor button right here.
Huh?
I got the sensor button right here, so I can do that if I need to.
Yellow oxide and just a tiny touch of the burnt orange. I think I'm going to make this one a little bit more yellow than what is in the thing, and make it kind of curve in out like this. Maybe it goes out like there. Kind of widens out here. Just like that. Whenever I'm doing something like this where it's got an obvious growth patterns or streaks and things, if you will just streak it in the direction that your whatever flower petal, in this case stem of the mushroom, whatever is growing, I'm going to get some of that darker color, and I'm just going to go up to the top and right up underneath where we drew that little thing, I'm just going to put a little shadow and pull down into that wet paint. Looks good. And get some more of that color and go up here and put in, it's like dogs barking out there. Our neighbors' dogs are barking like crazy out there.
I could hear something in my
on?
headphones, and I'm like, "What is that?" And I take them
think it's
off,
dogs.
and I'm turning my head like a dog. Like, what is that?
I don't know.
I'm surprised somebody isn't losing their mind.
Oh, Fitzy, yeah. I don't know. We're not out there. He gets brave when we're out there, but when we're not, I think he gets quieter.
Maybe he's got a full belly.
Could be. All right, so something like that. And we'll do more to it, obviously, but that's just kind of to get it going. And I really like that color on the top of it, so I'm not gonna do too much to that. I might get a little bit of, I think I want it a little bit, maybe a little bit more pink. And so I'm getting the burnt orange and some magenta and some unbleached titanium. I'm just gonna kind of go over this like that. We've got such a nice color down there, we don't have to do too much to it. And if you look at the reference photo, that mushroom has a lot of like dimples and scars and all kinds of stuff going on, so we can be kind of messy with this. We don't have to try to get this just perfect, you know. Real nature, real life is messy, so we can, that's one of the things I like about painting things like flowers and mushrooms and stuff like that. Nature in general, it's just because there's so much randomness in it, and it's kind of a little bit more freeing. As long as you get the basic shape right, your brain's going to be like, oh, that's a mushroom. You know, you don't have to work so hard to get it just right. It's not like a portrait where you have to get the likeness just so, or it's not going to look good, you know. I'm going to get some, so I mixed up some magenta with my burnt orange and some of the burnt sienna here. So I just want a darker version. I'm going to kind of put that at the very bottom here. This is still pretty wet, so I'm not going to try to do too many layers there, but I just trying to get a little bit of a shadow there. And then at the bottom of this, where it attaches, I want it to be reddish too. So I'm gonna kind of pull this yellow is still a little bit wet, but it's getting close to being at the no return point where I need to let it dry. So I can't do too much with it. I can't try to blend it too much, but there we go. So streaking up some of that color at the bottom. There is a mushroom that's kind of this color. I'm not making this up. I'm looking at one here that, so I am.
I don't know. I think you're making it up.
There are mushrooms that are these colors. So even if there wasn't, we could still make it whatever we wanted to. But I am kind of doing a real mushroom here. Okie doke. Cute. I like it, and I like that color too. All right. So this one here is kind of a lavender almost. So I'll just use the same color that's on my brush, but add some blue to it and some unbleached titanium. And do, ooh, that's pretty, like a smoky blue. That'll be our kind of base color, almost a lavender. Not quite a lavender. And it kind of bells out like that. Pretty. That's a good color with all of this. So let's use some of this color in our wood, because this will look good on our wood tone. So we can kind of figure out where we want the top of our wood to be, maybe the edge, and just kind of use this to streak down some and just dry brushing. If you don't have too much paint on your brush, and you can kind of just set it down and sort of pull down and let the texture of the canvas pull that paint off of your brush. and get some more blue for this side. We'll say this is our light source coming in from here, so we'll make these colors a little bit brighter, a little bit warmer, and then the colors on this half coming this way, like this side of it and different things, a little cooler. So we'll put our bluer, kind of bluish purples over here and warmer tones up here. So a little bit of blue there, looks good. And then let's see a little bit of it back here, but there's going to be ferns and things, so probably won't see too much of the back end of it. And maybe we'll see, I don't know, I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of this tone in the middle here. Just dabbing it on there. If all else fails, just obscure it, you know, like that has been to me one of the most freeing things about doing kind of more like loose style paintings is realizing that I don't have to define every little thing. Like you can just sweep a side to side little section, and as long as you get kind of the general shape, general color, general whatever, your eye will do the work for you. You don't have to put in every little detail on every little thing. Detail here, where put details in your focal points, everything else can be kind of fudged a little bit, and it'll all look good. I've found, at least, you know, I'm still working on perfecting when to smudge and when to, you know, define. But I find it really fun to skirt the line there and kind of play with it, you know. And this kind of project is really great for it. All right, so this one I think I'll leave a little bit more of this kind of orange tone, just like it is in the photograph. I like it a lot. So it's kind of
I like that color.
It looks like an orange almost, just with the
Oh, it
segments.
does, doesn't it?
Kind of look like an orange.
Orange juice coming out of it.
Exactly. Yeah, pouring
All
out.
right, we're gonna do a funky mushroom dream, mushroom painting.
Yeah. All right, so yellow oxide, and let's get some Indian yellow hue here to brighten that up a little bit. Yellow oxide, burnt sienna, and Indian yellow with my unbleached titanium, and we'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and do it like that, where it's kind of coming down and curving away from that. I'm going to do a fern here and a fern here, so I'm not going to do the finishing details on this quite yet, but we'll just kind of lay in some of our color over this orange. And this stem is going up into that. I'm going to get some burnt umber and some burnt sienna and define these kind of, it's like a wagon wheel of slices here. Just putting it in as I see it, and then we can define anything that doesn't make sense. So, you know, sometimes you can get it good enough on your first try. You don't have to go back in and do a lot. So we'll do as close to what we're seeing as we can, and then we'll come back later and add some details. Something like that. Okay. And I think I need to get the shape a little bit more rounded out right here. Okay, I think that's good. Cute. Okay, the fern is not in my photos, but when I did this, I was like, I kind of want something tall. So either a fern or some sort of a leafy thing in here. I'm not sure how defined I want to get with it, but let's go ahead and just kind of start out and see what we end up with. And I'm just going to use this same Filbert brush. It'll give me good kind of leafy like shapes. I have a fern that I'm looking at, so but I do like the, you know, the kind of ferns that kind of do the curly Q. So I might do a curly Q off this. I feel like it could fit like over here and do like a curly where they're kind of bundled up and haven't unfurled all the way yet. So maybe do one like that over here. And just dabbing like that. And we'll do a mushroom right here and off here. So there'll be some other mushrooms and things in here. And we'll probably put this back over the top. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I want this in front or not, but we'll leave it for now. We're just playing here, trying to see. And then this would be our fern here that's going to take up this space. And just kind of go like this, maybe. And just do like that. Okay, so it's just a suggestion of a fern going out over this. We don't even have to really define it all the way. As long as we get the shape right, kind of put a little bit of definition in. We can put some highlights on it, but there we go. So that's going to be a great backdrop for the rest of our stuff. And we put it over this cooler temperature backgrounds. We'll put some yellow. So we've got the blue green, and if we put the yellow green over the top, it's going to really pop and be a nice contrast there. Not going to show up as much over that lighter color because it's the same value, but over down in here where it's darker, it'll definitely show up. Kind of ferns kind of do that little, they have the legs out, or you know, the arms out, and each arm has its own little ascending scale. So figure out your central line, and then you can just have all your arms going out every which way off of it. Like that. Okay, very good. And then we'll do some mossy bits down here. That's also kind of coming off. It's a little early to do too much. I'm not gonna define too much, but I do want some green down here, and maybe a little bit up here, maybe some grasses or something like that. I forgot to turn my phone off.
I thought this was a professional organization here.
I had my phone off the other day, and I was missing calls from everybody. So I turned it off. Now I'm going to mute it again and miss calls tomorrow. All right. I have that temporary mute that I usually use, but...
Yeah. Does it work on me?
Don't know. We could try. Yeah. Okay, I definitely think I want that one coming in front. I feel like it just pushes that one back a little too far. So we'll do that. Bring that one back in front. And that green's still wet enough that I can kind of just dab over it. Okay, so that's good. Good. All right. I might bring out, I feel like I can bring out some fern kind of coming out here. That's just sort of the hint of some fern. like stuff back there. Grasses and things. Okay. We're good. And, you know, we're getting some burnt umber with that green. Where the fern comes out, we'll want to kind of, you know, go into the thing a little bit so that it's got a home down here in the middle somewhere, so it doesn't feel like it's all the way in the back. Okay, let's get some white and some of my yellow, Indian yellow. And I'm going to, this is the light color, right? I'm gonna put, just using the tip of the brush here and drawing in the direction, kind of right at the thickest part where I think that would be sticking out the most and catching the most light. This part is shadowed, right? So just right under the shadow area, right in here, there would be a little bit of area where I think that it would be catching a little bit of light. So I'm gonna highlight those, and it's got kind of a really texturedness. I don't have to go that far over, but you get the idea right there. Okay, that will pull that mushroom forward and kind of curve it away from us a little bit. And then we can, let's use some of this color, maybe add a little bit of magenta to it and use it at the top of our mushroom here where the light might be hitting it, like right in here. Just do kind of like a triangle almost right there. And then maybe there's some hitting the rim right there. Okay. This is a shadowy forest too, remember, so we don't have to go really bright on any of our highlights or, you know, whatever. I'm going to get some more of that darker color because I don't want that highlight to go right up to the edge because that makes it look flat. So if you have a rounded surface, your highlight's going to start just a little bit in from the edge because a rounded surface still has, even if it's getting hit directly by the light, it still has that little bit of a shadow at the top. My light's hitting it from here. So you see that? I don't know if you can tell my finger, but you can see that little bit of a shadow right there. So the brightest part is going to be in the middle. Even if your light's hitting it at the top there on a rounded surface. If it was flat, you would see a crisp line there. And so if you do a crisp line there, it's going to make it look like it's flat. So just a little bit in from that edge. And there we go. We're good. Let's see. I'm just going to kind of think about the shape of it and what part of it would be showing, what part would be catching that light. I think that's pretty good. I might go back in and glaze over some red, make it a little bit darker in some of my dark areas, but that looks pretty good. Let's get some of that green and my burnt umber and some of that original yellow that was my stem color. Maybe even a little bit of blue. So just like a darker color. Yeah, that green looks nice. Green is a cool color if you have enough blue in it. If it's like kind of a teal blue, cyan is your coolest color. So a green blue is, or a blue green I should say, is cool. It's gonna recede and be good for shadows. So shadow, warm, sunlight. You know, those are your two kinds of greens that you're going to be using. So this one is got blue in it, and it's going to be good for our shadow and underneath our mushroom here. I'm going to even use some teal. Just in that brightest part right there. And it's going to look funky right now, so I'm just going to wipe my brush out. Because I put a lot of that teal down and maybe it's a little too bright. So just, this is wet, and I'm just going to grab it and pull it down just a little bit. Just blend it out a little bit. Soften it off and make it not so obvious. You know, you don't have to wipe it off, or if you put too much of something on, you can always, if it's wet like that, you can move it around while it's wet. So get some burnt sienna, burnt umber, and I'm mixing it with that teal color. And I do want a shadow right here to define that coming up. So I'm gonna just mark that just a little bit right there, and maybe mark it right here coming out this way, so it's darker right there. Coming down. And then mark kind of the edge underneath with a little bit of this dark. And just tapping it like right on its edge so that it's kind of going on a little broken edge, broken line there. Not anything too fussy. Okay, that looks good. And let's get some of this color. This was the stem color here, but I think it'll work under here. Yeah, and we're just gonna put it right there. There's just a little bit of bounce light on that underside of the mushroom there, and kind of as it comes around, it kind of disappears. So I'm just gonna use my finger and just tap it off, blend it out. Okay, there we go. It's kind of messy, but that's all right. I don't mind it. It's got a lot of character. I'm kind of liking it. So this is gonna be one where we're gonna be a little bit more loose with it. I like it. All right. And this edge and this edge almost bleed into each other, you know, so that makes it, when you've got two colors that are real close in value, side by side like that, it makes this kind of disappear. Where I have it brighter underneath here, like where there's more of a contrast, these two are more obvious, but here, where these two colors are real close to each other, it makes it kind of blend in and disappear, and that is kind of useful for, especially for a forest scene, or if you want something to look like it's a little bit softer or blended out or whatever. You don't actually have to blend it. You just put something that's lighter or the same value behind it. All right, I'm going to get some of that pink that was kind of up here and use it down here and streak up some of that pink up there too. Give it a second coat and maybe. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Getting some more of that burnt orange, and I'm gonna put a little bit darker burnt orange on some places. And this is dry now, this yellow that I did before, so I'm going over it with kind of a light touch and letting this color is very transparent. Burnt orange is transparent, so I can glaze, kind of glaze. I'm not using glazing medium any at all, but it is in essence glazing because it's going on transparently over that color. So there we go. One down. Go a little bit darker here. And now if you're same thing as over here where I was saying, you know, we can disappear that. If this and this are not disappearing into each other, just pick a color that is, you know, a good value for both, and just kind of go along that and blend out so that it just sort of disappears down into the stump, and then we don't have to worry about defining where it ends. And then we'll obviously put other grasses and things in front, but it's just a real easy way of kind of hiding the bottom of your, let's do it with the same over here, hiding the bottom of your mushroom. Okay. Cute, cute, cute. So let's go ahead and put the top part of that mushroom on. I'm going to get the Unbleached Titanium and some of my yellow, I think. And I used that yellow on this one, so it'll be good to have some of this yellow over here. And I'm going to use it to define the upper edge of this, and kind of is wobbly wobbly. Kind of doesn't have a straight edge at all. Right, and then there's some of this gold color coming around. Maybe not that bright, but close enough. I'm just gonna kind of define the edge and the shape of this upper. Like that. Okay. Now it looks like it's connected. Right. And then let's use a shadow color. So let's maybe pick that. That worked pretty good. So I'll use a little bit of that teal and mix it with this color. And we'll use it to define the spokes. I'm sure this is not called spokes, but whatever these are, these little striations in the underside of the mushroom. Mark's going to look it up for me.
Getting all technical there.
Oh, no, I have no idea what they're called.
Sounds good to me. I mean, let's see. Okay, so my Google does not know what my life is right now.
He's suddenly interested in mushrooms and
Computer parts.
computer parts.
Gills. They're called the gills.
Oh, well, that's
yeah.
interesting. Like a fish.
The cap is the top, and the gills are the underside.
Gills. Okay. All right, so just kind of highlighting the gills here. And there we go. I don't want it too bright because these are the underside, and then this side is getting the light right here. Remember, we're saying the light's coming from here. So I think right in here, we'll just put in our highlight down like that. And then let's get some of that burnt orange and mix that in with all of this good stuff we already have. And I'll pull from the opposite side up with that. And from under here down. Okay. All right, this is going to take some more time because we really need to blend out those gills and kind of get them looking a little bit better, but and give it some detail on the top. But all of this is still pretty wet, so we can't really do a whole lot with it right now. All right. So let's go ahead and put in these ones, figure out where we want to put these. I'm going to get out my chalk again and draw them. So let's give this guy a stem. I'm going to get the black and a little bit of blue, and we'll do our little stem right there. So maybe it's hanging on the edge of the front there. And let's go ahead and define our little bell in the middle there a little bit. I'm just going to let that dry. We'll come back to it. Or maybe actually, while that's wet, I'm going to get some more ultramarine blue and some white and kind of go in the opposite direction and sort of blend up into what I just did. That'll kind of soften it off. There's all these lines in there. That looks good. Get some white. Go even brighter at the very top. And it's actually kind of magenta, or kind of like mauvish, so I'm going to get some magenta. And okay. Cute.
Cute.
Adding a little highlight to that side of it. All right. We might could put another one of these bell-shaped ones here, or even 3 of them if we wanted to. Make sure this is dry so I don't try to draw over anything, but we can do these little short ones. I don't think I want to do, there's 4 in the picture. I think I want to do an odd number if we're going to do. So there. Maybe here. Although that kind of makes them go in a straight line there. I don't know. Let's see. If I move this one a little bit off from these 2, then it won't be so much in a straight line. Maybe we can do one that's a little higher. Something like that. I don't know. And then we've got this bell-shaped one here that's got kind of more of a I think I want it quite a bit bigger than this one, so I'm going to do it bigger. What?
I see, it's a little bit more roundish.
Yeah,
Pointy.
right. Oops, but then I've got that fern there, so I want to be careful not to cover up on my fern too much. But I want it to be kind of in between these 2 are kind of the big size. These are my littler ones, so I want a mid-size one here. So I think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And something like that. And these ones were kind of hanging off the side, actually, so tip them over into that little area right here. No, I don't want that there. Just looking at it, I think I'm gonna move them all over here. So have them maybe have one down low. Use this space here. Do another one here. And then do this one right in here and really use up this whole space with it. Kind of like that. I think that'll work. Yes. Yes, and I like these going off. Kind of be hanging on the side here like that. Not sure about that placement here, so that this one we could do another bell-shaped one right here. Now, I don't want to lose the end of that though. I like that curve there showing, so I don't want to do too much right here. I'm gonna maybe put some, I think I might put some blue forget-me-not type flowers right here. So I think that'll be a nice little pop of blue. And then maybe leave that one out. Just do another kind of taller one right here. That'll probably work. Yeah, okay, let's do that. Get a little lesson in composition too while you're at it. Okay, so yeah, I like that. I like that. That fits there nicely. We'll do some grasses and things right here, but that feels good. It's a good kind of, one thing that I look at when I'm doing composition like this is once I get kind of the placement, the size, and the, just making sure that I've got, like, this one is kind of in that golden, ratio. Both of these are actually kind of in those corners of the third. And this one is going to hit this third, and then this one is kind of empty. That's one little trick that you can use to kind of help move the eye around is pick your thirds, which are these 4 points, where if you split your canvas into thirds this way and split it into thirds this way, you're going to have 4 intersecting points where your focal point should generally be close to. So we've got these two hitting this focal point, and then we'll have this one kind of sort of hitting it over here, but it doesn't have to be anything. And then this one will be kind of empty-ish too. So we need to pull the eye back around if we've got these two major things. So this one is tilted this way, because it's going to lead the eye up and over. This shape is going to pull the eye back down around. The same thing with this fern. It's going to help kind of guide the eye back down around. This one, its shape is curving back down in, so it's not just like a flat thing that's if it was a flat like branch or something that was hanging off here, we'd have to kind of interrupt it somehow by putting a leaf or something that kind of guides the eye back around, because it's kind of facing this way. Even though this is pointing us out, it's cupped here, and it's kind of stopping that motion and keeping it in the focal point area or whatever, or keeping our eye in the canvas and not just pointing everything out. So this one pointing in towards us is also going to be an arrow literally right back up into this one here that we want to look at, and then these ones will kind of stagger. So all right, let's get going here and stop talking.
Sounds like a pinball game. Your eyes bouncing all over the place.
It does. It is kind of like that, yeah. And when you're creating a composition from scratch like this, you kind of have to think about all these different things, and also, where these are lining up in relation to one another. You may want something to kind of point back in, but then you don't want to have 3 things that are kind of like matched up in line. Faces, like, when I'm composing the paintings with the animals, I'm making sure that I don't have 3 animals with their faces in a straight line straight down the canvas, because that can be really distracting. So you kind of have to break that up and also make the composition flow. It can be kind of tricky sometimes to get it all worked out and figure out how to place everything. But when you do, it's worth the effort, because once you do, then you have a much more pleasing arrangement of objects. Okay, so I mixed up some of the magenta, the burnt sienna, or I'm sorry, burnt umber, and the ultramarine blue make a gray, but I'm using more blue than burnt umber, and then I'm adding a little bit of my magenta, and so I'm getting this gray that's like purple toned. I'm going to use that under here, and I used kind of ultramarine. I used that teal that was up here for the top part, just because I knew it would show up pretty well. And then I'm going to use yellow for these ones. These ones have kind of like more spiny kind of spikes, so I'm going to let my brush kind of define that back end of it, because it's got like more ridges. It's not smooth like this one. Okay. like that. I bring it out just a little bit more. Cute. And then this one is shadowed by its mama, so it's a little bit more purpley. And same thing with this one. This one's getting a little bit more light. Okay, and then getting some burnt umber and burnt sienna, or I'm sorry, burnt umber and burnt orange, maybe a little bit of magenta and ultramarine blue. Just kind of want a dark, slightly purple. And do these little stems, and these ones, these little baby ones are small. Kind of got that sort of big. Try that again. There we go. Okey-doke. And this is going to go up almost to the top there. We'll just let that set and dry because it's really wet right now. All right. I like how this is coming around. Now we're in. Made pretty good progress. Let's go ahead and put in these guys. These guys I want to be kind of orange, yellowish. I'm gonna do the Indian yellow and yellow oxide. I'm gonna do them just like in the picture. I like the coloring. It's got like a brownish green almost at the base. Got a really nice shape. Just a really classic bell shape here. I also like when I'm picking these I'm going to go a little higher with this one just so that it's not so close to the same height as that one. I like to pick ones that are different shapes. These two are pretty similar, but different enough. This one's much more angled and the coloring's different, so we can get away with being somewhat similar. And these ones we're not seeing the bottom of them at all. And having that little bit of white in here just keeps it. The yellow is really not a great color for covering. It doesn't have great coverage, so you really need a little bit of white in here to make sure that it covers up our background. Really good color. I like it a lot. Okay, that looks really good. All right, yay. And then there was like a pink random one off to the side. I'm not sure I'm going to do that one or not. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 clusters. I may leave it at that because I kind of like having odd numbers. So I may leave that little pink one for another day. I'm going to get some white with this and just kind of do my white highlights up here. I picked up green somewhere. Don't really want that green in there. Okay. Just gonna go across here and highlight that. Just dabbing kind of right down the middle there. That's gonna give it a nice shine. And I'm gonna go ahead and mess with this one just a little bit more. I'm gonna get a little bit of burnt orange and dab it in just a little bit. really, really light touches, barely touching. Just trying to get a little bit of that texture to come off. And maybe a little bit right here where the front of it is. Sticking out the most. Okay. Same thing with this one. Let's get some white here. And just kind of go along that edge and where it's sticking out the most and give it a highlight on the top. Ooh, it's turning orange. Okay. And let's go back to that one, get some of the burnt sienna. I'm going to do this whole painting with this one brush. I usually just paint with the brush until I find that it's not working for me anymore, but this one is doing a really good job on this one, so I'm not going to switch until I need to. I'm going to pull down and streak some little stripies in my mushroom there. Don't worry about going over your white part. We can put that back in. Probably should have done this before I did the white part, but that's okay. So along the sides here, it's going to follow that curve and kind of disappear along the top. And then let's put some of this color on the inside. Just kind of right up next to that light color. This is sort of a good transition color. If it's darker than your darkest areas, you might want to lighten it a little bit, but it depends on what you need. You may need darker. I probably need to go back in and darken mine too, just a little bit in some places. I'm going to use a little bit of this under here. Give it a little glow. Okay. Get a little bit more of my burnt umber here. Maybe some of that purple that was in this one on the stem, right? That stem there. And let's use that in here. And go in on the other side of the dark or the spines and define our dark spaces a little bit better. And then just kind of where it touches the stem, just kind of tap in some of that really dark. Just a little stippled bit there where it attaches, and then kind of pull it down slightly and maybe pull some streaks down that stem. Okay, it looks good. I'm pretty close to being done with that one. I think I'm going to do one more little bit of highlighting on it, but I need to let it dry. All right, let me take off all my chalk marks. Well, let me put the is that still wet? I think that's still wet. Let's put some stem, let's give him some legs. Get the blue and my brown here. I don't know which brown it is, just one of these burnt siennas. Doesn't matter, just making it gray with my yellow and brown and blue. Okay. Okay, I think I'm going to do, like in here, if you notice, there's not a lot of contrast right now. If I was to take a picture of this and look at it in black and white, I'll do it right now. I'll show you what I'm talking about. it's going to be pretty flat in values, which means I'm probably missing my darkest darks in here. Got some fairly good highlights happening. I have some shine on my photo, so it won't be a great example, but you'll get the idea. So if I go in and if you take a photograph of your painting and you're like, I don't know, something looks wrong, you go to the black and white. You see how I've got some dark here and I've got some darks down here, but I have no darks really in this. This whole area is pretty light. I mean, I've got some, so it's not terrible, but I think I could go, see how dark that is? I think I could go fairly dark in here and maybe a little bit up in here. I mean, I don't have to have, you know, the lightest light and the darkest dark in every area, but in my focal point areas, I should have more contrast because those areas are going to draw the attention, and when you have more contrast, it draws the attention. So I'm thinking maybe up in here, just in these little corners here, might go a little darker on my mushroom, and that one looks okay. And then maybe just a little bit in my fern here, like especially down in here maybe, just to kind of pull you in, because then you've got these bright things on top that'll really like attract the attention too. So, all right. All right, so let's go ahead and wipe off. Hopefully all this is dry, I think. Wipe off my chalk marks. I think that's all right. I can wipe this off. I know where I want to put that. All right, so him, we'll put a little bit more burnt umber. And spray my paints, and I'm going to clean off my palette. So I've got a clean spot to work. Probably use a little bit more of burnt umber, but I'm not quite out yet, so we'll see. Might be okay. I need you to change this out. It's got like paint in the middle there. It's not catching. There we go.
So you've pretty much only used that one brush so far?
Yeah, I've only used that one brush. The 6 Filbert.
Yeah.
It's doing a good job, so I like to use the biggest brush I can use. It makes the painting go faster. And this painting is a pretty decent size canvas, 12 by 12 canvas. It's not super, you know, big, but it definitely can take a while to fill it up if you don't have a big enough brush. So, all right. Yeah, I might switch to a smaller one now that I'm getting down to some of these smaller mushrooms. It'll probably help now that I've got my big, you know, bigger areas filled in up here. So I'll grab that 4 Filbert now. All right, so we talked about putting in some darker shadows here. So I do like that teal. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to use the Phthalo blue instead of the ultramarine because it's got more of the teal. It's closer to cyan. I'm going to get a little glaze. And I don't have to do a whole lot here. Just darken it up just a little bit. Right up there, right in here. And wipe that out. And just like before, I'm just going to wipe this around, pull this down. I'm not going to touch it where I have it the darkest though. I'm not going all the way up into the corner unless I want to remove it. But if I just want to blend out that bottom edge, I'm just kind of barely coming up to where I put that color down and pulling it down it'll go farther than you think. You don't need a lot of paint to do this. Just gonna darken up that area there. Looks pretty good, I think. And I'm gonna kind of blend off that top edge there too, just a little bit. Okay. And then let's use, I'm gonna go ahead and use this color in my shadows of my fern too. Maybe add a little bit of green. That burnt umber is gonna do a nice dark color for me. Just put a few little dark little bits. Okay. And then let's maybe dab in around the base of that. I'm going to do that forget-me-not right here. Just maybe get a little bit of that green and add it with just a little bit of white. And some kind of grass-like. This does pretty decent grass as long as you kind of use that corner of it and have it pretty flattened out like that. It's gonna do nice thin grasses for you. And I'll do some little leafy bits. Let's go ahead and grab my Deerfoot Stippler, and I'm going to use some of this color, a little bit of black, some white, and sort of have it all on my brush at once. Black, white, and gray, green kind of colors. And we'll use this to do some of the lichen this thing is growing out of. It's coming down off the side of our log. Get some more of that white and maybe some green gold. Just dabbing. And then more just white.
Man,
and I'm just gonna kind of, what?
I gotta say, I'm liking this part.
Oh yeah. Oh God. See what I mean?
Are you sure you still want me here?
Okay, so there we go. Let's go ahead and put some off here just to kind of pull it this way so it's not all pointing off the canvas. Okay. Let's go ahead and work on these ones a little bit. And, well, before I do that, I'm going to do one more highlight, maybe Unbleached Titanium and white on this guy here. And just kind of go, so I did it before, and then I did my brown, and then, so now I'm going to do it even thinner, just right in the middle of where I did it before. That'll make it look really shiny. So I had the highlight, I have my regular color here, and then my highlight here, and my ultra highlight right in the middle, just right there. And that's what gives it that shape and makes it really look like it's coming out at us. Okay, and then I'm going to get a little bit of my yellow with my white, And I'm just going to go in here and kind of highlight on the inner edge of where it's going down just a little bit. And then we'll get some brown, burnt umber, maybe a little bit of the blue, and have kind of a greenish color for these, and do one more layer of these gills. And just go back where I did them before, but clean them up a little bit, because I did 3 colors. Remember, I kind of did the initial kind of drawing of them over the dark layers. So we had the dark, we had the lighter color, and then we went in with mid-tones, and then we went back in with the dark again, because the dark had kind of disappeared a little bit. And now we're going back in with our light to clean that up. So you kind of have to sort of be patient, and when you're doing this many layers, it kind of can take a bit to get them all looking good. And some of the gills are not going all the way in, so I'm just kind of partial. So like right in there, I kind of think I want to clean that up a little bit. So I'm going to get the darker color again. That burnt umber and burnt orange, and just kind of tap in around these a little bit and clean up that anything that looks really messy or you think needs definition. Look at it from a distance too. Take a picture of it like I did on my phone, you know, because sometimes what seems like a problem area is, you know, won't be that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. I'm going to get some more of that brighter yellowish highlight color. I forgot to do it right here. And just, there's like a, going to highlight across that stem there where it sticks out to. Wipe my brush off and just going to kind of dry brush it out to sort of blend it a little bit. Okay. Cute. And I think I want it a little bit darker under here. Just right up under here. Maybe a little bit of blue. Just kind of where that stem comes out. I want to do some negative painting around it so it really stands out a little bit more. There we go. Look at your picture and see where you're seeing the darkest colors. And that's where I'm going to put this. So just that darkest dark areas. Okay. On this particular one, at least. Okay. Get some green gold, my yellow. I'm gonna put some highlights on my fern there, make it pop out a little bit more. Get a little bit of the Unbleached Titanium, Yellow Oxide, burnt orange. I want to highlight this edge of this where it comes up just a little bit, like right there. Just so that it shows that stem going up into that mushroom there. All right, pretty happy with that. let's move on because we got a lot to do still. So I'm going to give these guys a second coat with yellow oxide. And then let's streak up that kind of blackish color. I'm just going to go ahead and grab black. We'll see what happens here and just set it down and pull up into that wet paint. It's just on the tip of my brush, so I'm not adding too much color here. That wet paint will kind of help pull that paint off and blend it just a little bit too. If your yellow is dry already, just let it dry all the way and then do this. Just a little bit of color and just pulling up pretty quickly. And I'm going to get some white, mix that lighter gray, kind of put that on the stems. Okay. And then the top of these, I'm going to get some more of that Indian yellow and yellow. Still had a little bit of that gray in here, so it's going to turn in a little bit of gray. It's actually kind of a darker brown. I don't know why I'm doing that. It's kind of more like burnt sienna, burnt umber. Let's try that. It's weird because it's going on that yellow, but the highlight's hitting the top on that brown part. I need a little bit warmer than that, a little bit more obvious. I'm going to get a little bit more of my burnt umber. Okay, these are looking worse before they're looking better. That's okay. That's okay. We'll make it work. So I'm going to mix up a color that's the base color plus a little bit of what I just did. And I'm just going to kind of wrangle that in there a little bit. Trying to blend those two together a little bit. And that yellow that I originally put down is getting dry, so it's sort of grabbing this paint and lifting itself off. So I need to probably just stop and we'll just come back to these. They're looking not great right now, but we'll get them there. We just have to leave them alone for a minute. So let's work on this one while we're leaving those alone. Move these over. And let's make a light pink and a little bit of blue. Kind of a lavender. And maybe a little bit of brown just to make it kind of gray, slightly gray. And we used the teal on these before, so this will look good with the teal, I think. It'll be a good contrast. Teal can be kind of our shadow parts of this. And we'll put this lighter color on the highlight areas. And then in our shadows, we're going to want some burnt umber and ultramarine blue mixed with this. And that's still too dark. Okay, we'll use it over here. They'll make a mid-tone. I'm just barely lifting before I get to the top to get that kind of graduated color there. So just gonna setting that brush down and lifting it, just kind of flicking it up towards where I want the color to go, but not pulling it all the way up. And let's get the magenta and the burnt umber and the ultramarine blue there. And I'm going to do this again, but kind of give it a little bit of a highlight. So it shows up. And if I want it darker, I need to add more burnt umber and ultramarine blue. Fitzy's sighing, so that tells me I'm getting close to 2 hours. So it's only an hour and a half. We got plenty of time. He usually starts sighing at the 2-hour mark. It's like, we still doing this? It's like, well, I'm going to do something. I'm going to get the blue. I don't want these so dark because I feel like they're disappearing back here. So I'm going to use blue instead of the purple. The dark. I'm going to change the color and not so much the value. So leave the value a little bit lighter and just use the dark, the cooler color to make them sort of disappear. Or at least still be visible, but not as visible. And this one, I think I need to give it some little stripies. So I'm going to get some of that highlight color and come on. Kind of right in the middle there. And do the same thing with this one. Kind of. Okay. And then this guy underneath here. And then right there, I need a mid-tone. So I'm going to get this color and add this color to it and just have kind of a middle color and sort of start where those ended and keep going in towards the middle a little bit with that mid-tone color. And this kind of ends right here, but these kind of go in on the sides a little bit. This is the top part, and you're not seeing it going all the way up. So let's go ahead and define the, whoops, not that bright. Okay. Let's go ahead and define the edge of the stem here. I guess it's a stem. Get some of that darker color, and I'm going to go darker with that kind coming down. Okay. I'm not loving the colors there, so I'll mess around with it. And this is all one value, which it's like that in the photo, but I don't want to leave it that way. It's not doing it for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some of this blue color that I used down here. And I'm gonna add it up here and just streak it on this and leave it where I think I would have the highlights be, which is kind of up toward the top of this. And get some more of that white and just kind of come in the opposite direction with it and blend that out a little bit. I still don't love it, so I'm just gonna keep messing with it until I do. I'm gonna see about, part of the problem is that my reference photo doesn't have a lot of detail in this section. It's just a big white blob, and so I'm not loving it. And so I'm trying to fix what I'm seeing, which can always be a little tricky. And I think I'm going to use a little bit of yellow. That'll give it a little different tone and all these cool colors. And just use that even if it's not a different value, it'll kind of register it a little bit different. And use some of that yellow mixed with my purple under here. Some of this does look a little bit yellow in the photograph. It's getting hit by the sunlight. Okay. Change the shape a little bit too, make it a little bit whiter. Okay, and I'm going to use a little bit, since I'm using this yellow, I need to use a little bit in my babies too. So they look like the same species. Alright, that's looking a little bit better. Now I'm going to get that brightest white and put it right along this tip, and this will help define that edge. And I'll bring that part out. Okay. And if I can get it to stick right here, I'll do a little bit right there too. We'll let that dry. Let's work on this guy again. They've kind of disappeared into the background, haven't they? So let's go ahead and get some of the burnt sienna. I'm just going to warm up this whole thing at the top of all of these. Because it just kind of got a little dull looking. I don't need it to go down all the way, but just kind of about half, or really the top third or so. Just wiped my brush clean and I'm just pushing that paint around. Okay, now I'm going to get the yellow, Indian yellow, and yellow oxide, and I'm going to go back through and That burnt sienna was a little bit wet. It was trying to lift on me in places. It dried pretty quick there. So I might just give it a second to dry, and then I'm going to get some white and do some white with this yellow. Right along this side. I'm going to keep it low. This will do it. This is helping a lot. Okay, not looking so bad now. Alright, and then I'm going to get that black and a little bit of the teal, I think. Just a slight little bit of teal. I'm just going to use the tip of my brush and define that. Bottom edge. And if it's disappearing, it may be because my background is too dark. You know, I did my background pretty dark here, so what I may have to do is like add a little lighter highlight to these. Is probably what I'm going to have to do to make them show up like against this dark area here. So these are a little bit more bell-shaped than I'm painting them too, I'm noticing. I didn't go out as far as I could with them. So I'm going to use a little bit of that green and just let me think. So let's use the yellow. I think maybe that'll be better. I might still have to go back in with my burnt sienna again here. Getting some burnt sienna here, trying to, I don't want to undo everything I just did. But I definitely couldn't see it against that background either, so I have to do something to make it stand out against our background. Burnt sienna and trying to tap it off here. So I probably, in hindsight, probably would need to do a little bit lighter color just in this area in general on my background. And then I wouldn't have to worry about this. I could do it now, like I could go back in and let me do this too. Let me switch to a smaller brush because that brush is not giving me a lot of room to maneuver. Like that whole bottom edge, it's not showing up at all. So, but it's supposed to be black. So, you know, if your background is as black as that, it's not going to show up no matter what you do. So you're going to either have to go lighter or you're going to have to put your background lighter. So what I can do is, maybe let's just go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and put some lighter color in our background back here and get some teal and just pop in some lighter color around where those are going to be. Just a dusting of a hint of a lighter something back here. Okay, now they're going to stand out a little bit better. Okay, let's try that again now with the black. Okay, now we can see them. Sometimes you don't want to see them, but sometimes you really do. This is one of those cases where we really do need to see where these guys are, because these are, you know, unique to that area there. All right, and then getting some white with my yellow. And I'm just gonna highlight these down the middle just a little bit, just a little bit towards that top and to one side, and I'm gonna probably glaze over them with a little bit of that burnt sienna again, or burnt umber again, but I'll make them shiny and get a little bit of that green with some white, and then give their stems a little bit of highlight again. All right. Getting some of that pink and mixing that teal with it. I'm just going to use that for these stems here. There we go. And I'll add a little bit of a shadow right where they go up into the top. Just a little bit right there. Okay. All right. It's pretty good. I think I could go a little bit brighter again with that. I'm going to get some yellow, some of that burnt orange, and my white. And I'm going to use the Deerfoot Stippler. And just almost to the top, but not quite. Add a little texture to that guy and a little bit brighter spot. It dries darker, so what I'm going to do is go brighter than I think I want it. It's going to look a little fun, you know, like a little too bright, and then we'll hope that it dries to the right color. So that seems a little bright to me, so I think hopefully that'll dry to just the right color. All right, I think I'm pretty happy with those for the most part. Let's go ahead and just kind of finish up with some grasses and some little bits. I kind of lost all my like dark areas in this area down here, so I'm gonna go ahead and get some of that blue, burnt black and phthalo blue, and some glaze and my brush here, and I'm just gonna dab in and think about where my shadows are, not like go kind of underneath my light areas, because those are obviously where the light's hitting, and often your darkest shadows are going to be like right underneath your light areas, because that's where the shadows are, you know, the sun's not getting there if it's sticking out. So there we go. Again, little shadows under there. Let's get some burnt umber. And we'll do some streaks with the burnt umber, maybe on our log. Let's think. Okay. I think I'm going to just kind of darken up right in here. And maybe there's maybe there's some little, they have like ferny type grasses right in there. So I'm going to get some yellow and my green gold, some unbleached titanium. I'm just going to kind of tap some little fern-like grasses down there and get some darker color so it's not just that one. Have kind of a mid-tone color too. Probably could have done this before I put in the final details on some of these. Like this one is kind of in the way now for this, but it's fine. I'm just carefully kind of going around it. Thinking about what might be in here. You could put a bug, you could put a little froggy, might put, there's these really cool little, let me do this. There's these really cool little mushrooms. I'm going to get some of that orange and my white. There's like these little coral colored mushrooms. I may just do a few of those here. They look like little flowers almost. It'll be a good place for them. It'll balance out that red here. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. Let's do a big one right here. Okay. Get my white, my yellow. Just do the little highlights around them. They're almost like tulip shapes. I'm not really sure what they're called. They're really cute. That'll work. Kind of drawing the eye back down here. Okay. Maybe put one more like over here just to kind of guide it up that way.
I believe it is a Scarlet Elf Cup.
Scarlet Elf Cup, nice. So, kind of just a red, really, kind of reddish orange.
Or as I like to call it, the Sarcosopha austriaca. That's what me and the boys
Trips
call
off the
it.
tongue.
Yeah, that's what me and the boys call it.
Okay, check. Oh, geez. All right, so some little, I'm going to go ahead and just do some little dots of this orange color up here because some of them will have some of those little like ferny like things will have like these little just red dots. I don't know what they are, but they're like little spores or something. I don't know. I'm mixing the green gold with this red. It's going to make a really nice color. And let's use it to do some little ferny bits coming off here. And all through here. What are you laughing at?
Your Spencer's warm.
Mm. Oh, yeah. All right. okay. I get it, Fitzy. No more sighing. It's just so boring. Okay, so just glazing some of that color back on there. The tops of those. And let's glaze some of that yellow, Indian yellow too, to brighten up that yellow parts of them too. So just like a little bit more yellow. There we go. Do we want to do anything more to him? Probably. Maybe put a little bit blue with this peachy color here. Oops, I'm lifting that color off there. It's wet. I'm all out of white. Let me put some white back out. What time is it? 7:51. All right, I need to get serious about finishing here. There was a butterfly that I kind of added as a, but I don't know that I'm gonna need it. I had it up here in the reference, but I'm not sure I'm gonna put it in here today. Right. And let's just do kind of a light blue for the highlight on the stem there, so it shows up. Ultramarine blue, mix that together with that. And okay, Fitzy, he just needs to go out. He's being dramatic.
I'll pay you later. Thanks, Fitz.
Drama dog.
I think he's saying Oak Island's on and he can't miss his show.
I see. Not like we're missing anything at all.
Oh, this week for sure.
For sure this week.
For
we'll have
sure this
something
week.
happening. Okay.
Guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed to disappoint every time.
Mm-hmm. Mm. We'll see. Trying to add a little bit of detail to my fern-like flowers there. Just felt like this one needed something right here. It just didn't feel finished, so just adding some little details there in front. Kind of tapping some little bitty leaves here. Again, nothing has to be set in stone here. But I think I want some little blue-ish flowers. So I'm going to get some Cobalt Teal and Phthalo Blue and just do some little Pop of blue. This will be a really good contrast with all this orange. So that's why I'm doing this, because the blue and the orange will play off each other really well, and it'll be a beautiful little pop of color here. I've got some of the blue teal up there already, so to look good, I think I'm gonna get some white, mix it with my green, and just make sure that I have some little stems to these. Dab in a few little leafy bits, and then forget-me-nots have like a yellow or a white, center. Just get a little bit of the blue that I was just using and add a lighter blue. Just do some little petally things, dabs, little dots, really, that's all it is. They're just gonna, like the most rudimentary little flower shapes, but your brain will connect the dots. And not all flowers have to be facing you, so some of them can just be kind of a line, or some of the petals don't have to be quite connected. So okay, that looks good. I'm just trying to think of where else I can use this color now, because it's kind of the only place I've used it. So I might use it over here because this guy has some blue in it. And just kind of pop in some of this blue on this one. You won't really notice it, but it's there, and it'll help tie in everything, and we can put it in the lichen too. Let's add some white to this and make it a much brighter color, and I'm just using this round brush. I'm just gonna like draw in random viney, like, if you look at the lichen, it's got kind of connected little, almost like little webs, or I don't know, but it's, so we're just gonna do that. This is gonna attract the eye, so just do it in a few places. You don't have to do it everywhere. That's gonna look good. Maybe, okay, use some of this white in the centers of the flowers. It's dark in the middle, so you can kind of go around it, or you can paint the dark in again later if you want to, whatever you want to do. But there's white, and then there's another dark center in the white. Okay. Gonna get some pink in my white here with that blue, and just make sure this one has kind of a highlight along that side. I was gonna put back my highlight on this one, so I'm gonna get just my plain white, I think, and do a highlight like right here. Do a little bit brighter highlight on these. This one dried pretty good, so I don't think I'm gonna mess with it really, but I can do a little bit more on the part that's sticking out there, maybe a little bit more right here. Get some yellow. Let's finish these guys up because they need more help. Help. They're not finished. Okay, so we need to. They have kind of a bowl shape. They really do look like little flowers. Really cute. I'm looking. Do some of them with the fully open and some of them kind of slightly closed. Oh yeah, that's better. Okay. And just softening off some of the colors on the inside if they're too dark or darkening if they need a little darker, but that looks good. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put my darker blue in the centers of my forget-me-nots. I don't know what their leaves are supposed to look like, so they're probably not that, but we're close enough. I don't know. Getting some of that green gold. And we'll do some more of that kind of ferny, leafy bits. Be really bright right here at the base of this guy. Got a little too thick right there. Okay. Maybe we do some grass. Let me get my liner brush, get some of my green, maybe some of my maybe do the grasses in kind of a gray-green, just for a different tone. When we add some white to it so they show up, and do them just around different places here. If they cover up something that you don't want covered, you can wipe it off before it dries. Just realized I was covering up that needs to make sense where it's at. So you can do this before you add your flowers and things too. So, you know, you can do it kind of midway before you finish off some of these other parts. But if you kind of control where it goes, you should be able to just add some little grasses popped in here and there that help kind of distract the eye or lead the eye around. This is a great way of, like, you know, if you've got everything moving this way, you can do some grasses pulling the eye the other way or that kind of thing. I'm pretty happy with this, I think. Sometimes I'll do grasses in different colors too, but I think this is pretty close. I'm going to get some white here. And I'm going to hold my brush like farther out and, whoops, that's a little too much. A little farther out and just kind of do one last little highlight on here. Just a few little bits. Maybe. What time is it? 8:06. Oh, we're good. We are good. Little bits of the orangey color. And then let's do splatter to finish it off. Splatter, splatter. I don't see anything else. Did I miss anything else or forget anybody? I'm trying to make sure that I didn't forget anything. I think I'm going to use a different fan brush to splatter. And throw all that in the water. And I want to splatter with kind of a lightish color. So I'm going to get my kind of whatever this light color is here. It kind of looks like it's sort of a gray, slightly green. Get lots of water. And here we go. There's our little tree stump with mushrooms. Super cute. Hope you try it. There's a lot going on at the bottom here, so I think we could do a butterfly up here to fill in that space. I'm not going to do it tonight, but that is definitely something that I would suggest, maybe up in here or up in here. That would tie it all together, give it a smaller element up here also, you know, maybe I don't know, snail or just something small up here would probably help, because there's so much going on down here that's pulling the eye down. It'd be nice to have something else up here, I think. So, but I like the tension in it, like, you know, having this red that really draws the eye here, but not a whole lot else around it, and then all this other stuff here. I think it works, but again, if I had another hour, I would probably do another, like maybe a butterfly or something up here. I'm gonna go ahead and sign it, and we'll call it good for tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you subscribe if you haven't already, like the video if you haven't already, and come back for more. We're going to be doing this again next Tuesday, so we do it every Tuesday right now, and
Hopefully, if everything goes well with the new computer.
yes, we'll be back next week with new computers, so fingers crossed for us. Say a few prayers. All right, thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.